What's good, everybody? Welcome to another broadcast here for Fast Break here for Sports Radio. You're the reach for all the sports. Locke, the Chris Paul drama is still ongoing. Bits and pieces coming out every day. What's your quick take of it, real quick?
You know what? It is time for him to hang it up. Where to go back and forth with this, especially Ty Lue with different things. This has been something that's been sparked up and talked about for the past few days, so we definitely got to dive into it. Hopefully, like I said, this can end. This is just the wrong way I feel for Chris Paul career.
Yeah, it's real heavy out here. A lot of stuff. It's kind of like peeling the curtain behind the Clippers mess. And this is him returning to the Clippers. So we're going to dive into all that. Plus talk about scores and news around the association. Plus talk about news around college basketball as well. Some very big games that happened over the weekend. But this is Fast Break here for Sports Radio. You're the reach for all sports. And we'll catch you on the other side after these few short messages.
Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
And welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in with us tonight. We've got a lot to talk about, a lot to deep dive in on tonight's show, heavy. And when I mean heavy, I think, discussing about this individual in this team once again is going to shine light to the dysfunction that this team has had for a good while. And the team we're talking about, the LA Clippers, D-Locke.
Mm-hmm.
I know a couple weeks ago you went on the show with me, and I talked about the Clippers and their situation and all that stuff, and kind of tied in last week about CP3's, retirement and stuff like that. He said, hey, I'm calling it quits. I'm calling it quits, whatever, my last year. Back at the team that I had the most success with, the Clippers, all that. So I was like, okay, cool. I talked about that and how Chris Paul at each stop in his NBA career,
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of raised the level of the team's play with him there. Yeah, he's tough on you. Yeah, all that good stuff. But you got proven results with him in the helm. You can't deny that. You can't take that away from that. Whoever you team up with, in the past, where it was like the New Orleans Hornets, and then that in the past in those 2 years, OKC, Hurricane Katrina, all that good stuff. Then you get to the LA situation, wherever it's almost trade to the Lakers, then backtracked to the Clippers, which is kind of like a stay in the NBA, in my opinion. And I dived in and talked about that. But then you had a great run, the Clippers. Did make the finals with that group with Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, guys like Matt Barnes, JJ Redick, all that stuff, Doc Rivers. The Donnie Sterling stuff happened while he was there, which led to Steve Ballmer eventually buying the team. Then after that run, you get to trade to Houston. And they were that close beating the Warriors on that game 7.
Yeah.
That close. It was that close getting to the final. If they made the finals, they would have won that championship.
Yeah, we be talking about totally different things now for sure.
And we talking about the career trajectory of two guys, and James Harden and Chris Paul being for sure Hall of Famers if they made that championship. But then after that, OKC, played there for a year, did well there, and after that, go to Phoenix. Finally made the NBA Finals, but lose when guys like Chris Middleton and Giannis step up to play for the Bucks and won that championship in 4-2. And then it seemed like after that, D-Locke is like, he'll go here, the Warriors. He'll go there to the Spurs. And now you're talking about a guy that's kind of just out there and decides to go back to the Clippers, who's trying to make a run. And now Clippers are seen to be done with him. Chris Paul has been sent home by the Los Angeles Clippers, effectively ending his time with the team. His future is uncertain, but what the heck? This new feature on this thing, I don't know what it is. But hold on. There we go. Okay. Effectively end the time, but trade and buy options merge. So D-Locke, when you saw this happening and saw the news and stuff like that, what were your first initial thoughts of Chris Paul being sent home on a road trip at that in Atlanta? What's your thoughts on Paul being sent home by the Clippers?
Well, my first thought process is like, the dude already said that he's retiring, so we already know that he's, going to be done. But something had to happen in order for them to send him home. Now, he hasn't been really playing that much at all, to be honest. But with his experience, you would think he'd be somebody helping out there. You know what I mean? Now, it has to be something to say, okay, well, hey, this is one of the best point guards to ever play basketball. We're going to send him home. So something had to happen in order for that to happen. Now, like I said, maybe more information on the Tyronn Lue situation, different things, but to have him literally sent home midway through travel is letting you know that he's no longer needed there or wanted to be there. So this made me question a lot of things to see if it had something to do with not only him not playing, but also maybe something between him and the coaches.
I think for me, when I saw this, I was like, okay, what's going on here this time with the Clippers? I mean, you already got the Kawhi, Steve Ballmer, that experience stuff that's going on. And Kawhi taking millions of dollars on this table. You got that going on. Top of that, your team's not playing very well.
Mm-hmm.
Guys are hurt. You're one of the older teams in the league. I feel like a deja vu staying on this. Guy, I said this two weeks ago. Then, and then on top of that, the way you've been playing, that pick goes to the OKC Thunder, who are standing at, let me pull up the standings right quick, because they are at 22-1 right now of this recording. So 22-1 team, the defending NBA champs, who are playing great, excellent ball right now, who are up right now on the Utah Jazz 13-5 in the first quarter. Now, this is without SGA playing. He's out with the elbow. But does that really matter against the Utah Jazz? Does that really matter? Hell no. Hell no. So you got hearing stories about execs and stuff right there around the league kind of tripping balls that the Clippers suck. They're at 6-18, 14th in the West. And you got these executives around the league kind of tripping like, damn, that pick is going to the Thunder, and none of us could do about it. And now you got this, let's call it what it is, a shit show.
Yes.
And ladies and gentlemen, when I say shit show, the reason I say that because it's kind of revealed some things going on behind the scenes in the Clippers. There's some sense to it, but now this is kind of just like, okay, bam. What's going on here? Now, to continue this, they put for everything. Okay. The Clippers did not officially waive Paul, leaving an open possibility of a trade once he becomes eligible on December 15th. So they just told him to go home, basically. All that stuff. And they'll try and work out a trade or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
All that good stuff. So we'll see if they can make a deal or something like that. This is from Chris Haynes, who I think still works for Yahoo, but I think he may change places. But this is for Chris Haynes. Chris Haynes, that he shared from Chris Paul. I'm just staying ready. I'm hooping right now. I don't know what's next. I'm scared by it all. Still processing everything. Your thoughts when you see that kind of message there from Chris Haynes, what he relayed he got from Chris Paul?
I think that it's more to it than we, know. Clearly, he wants to play still. He still wants to help a team and be, involved. Now, it does make me think also, since he was not playing that much with them, could have played a huge part in the role of him not, or them, moving on from him. I mean, looking at or sending him home. I'm about to look at this really quick. Pull up this depth chart or this roster, because I'm trying to think about okay. So they have James Harden.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna take bulk of the minutes. Bogdanovich is also starting to get in. He's probably the first one coming off the bench. Chris Dunn is now in that starting role. Ray J. Dennis, Bradley Beal has been out.
He's gone for a year.
Yeah. So you think that this is where Chris Paul can possibly come in and grab some of those minutes. We know what is the deal with Kawhi Leonard. You know what I mean? So for me, I'm looking at it. Ray J. Dennis, Bradley Beal out. Cam Christian, Jordan Miller hasn't played. Bogdanovich, Chris Dunn, and James Harden. Are you telling me there's nowhere that Chris Paul can kind of fit in the rotation there?
He should.
Yeah. So to me, that's a question that needs to be answered. How is he not getting into this rotation? And we've seen Bogdanovich has not brought. He's averaging 9 points right now, 3 rebounds and 3 assists a game. He hasn't brought that spark. You know what I mean? Now, in my opinion, Chris Dunn hasn't done too much either. It's kind of leaning more so on James Harden to do most of the work. So you can have Chris Paul come in and make an impact. So to me, this team has been literally in shambles all year. We've seen, the expectations of having you put a different big three around Kawhi Leonard. And it hasn't worked. Same thing with James Harden. Getting the big three, it hasn't worked. So now we got these guys, Chris Paul, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Bradley Beal. And nothing hasn't gotten anything good out of it. We seen Bradley Beal last year with Phoenix, and he did not look like the Washington Wizards Bradley Beal. I think that Bradley Beal is done for now. So for me, when you get somebody like a Chris Paul, who we see play a huge role in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's progression in the NBA, I think you use him in the best ways you can, knowing that he's going to retire. So, for him to say that he's staying ready, he's still hooping, there has to be some underlying stuff that happened that had him not in the rotation, especially with the guys that I just named off. You know what I mean? So it got me kind of questioning, what's really going on in LA.
And shout out to the chat. How y'all doing tonight? Shout out to this individual here, this SpongeBob emoji. How you doing tonight? And he said, "Can you say my friend? Tag to my friend's name is Gabe." Okay, what's up, Gabe? How you doing?
Gabe, how you doing, brother?
Then Marcus Los Great in the chat. How you doing tonight, sir? And then I'll get to Fitz here in a second, but let me ask you this. And Marcus brought this up, and some of these teams that need point guards around the league. Would Chris Paul be a good fit in Milwaukee? Now we got to talk about the Giannis stuff too, and that's been real hot and heavy right now. But I know it's something that Giannis is probably like year for. It's like a 41-year-old point guard. But what you think about that? It's just a suggestion out there. I mean, what you think?
That's a very good suggestion. I think, what you have in Milwaukee, obviously we'll touch on the Giannis situation, but again, we're talking about a team that had traded for Dame Lillard and had the expectations with Dame and Giannis. Injury comes around now. It kind of seems like Giannis is back to having to do everything that Giannis has had injuries. That's been kind of hurt him a little bit throughout the season. The other situation we got going on, but we haven't seen too much of Kevin Porter for Milwaukee that much. Cole Anthony, we haven't seen too much. Gary Harris, we've seen a lot of Ron Rollins. I think we see a starting to make him moving forward with him. But again, they can use the point guard help, and I think that would play a huge role, especially with Milwaukee, if obviously the Giannis situation going on, possibly adding on to Chris Paul to see what it can do for them moving forward. I like it. Like I said, if he says he's ready, I think they definitely can use Chris Paul, and looking at, they went through a rough streak as well, Milwaukee, losing streak. So bringing in some veteran help, I think, will help this team. And hopefully it plays a part in some of the decisions that Giannis got to make in the future.
So to answer Marcus's question, to get Giannis for the Bucks management to get Giannis to stay, I don't think this would be the move to do. I just don't. It's like you swung on Dame and it didn't really work out, and plus he got hurt in the playoffs there. So, and now he's back in Portland. So, you tried there, and then now to get this other guy in who's older to maybe turn your fortunes around, I don't see it. You know what I'm saying? I don't see it. And you maybe better off swinging the fence with John Morant, maybe. So I don't see it as a good move. I'll get two more destinations here in a little bit, but I don't see Milwaukee as a fit. Maybe down the totem pole, but not top 3. While I'll go over here in a little bit. But to continue on the story, D-Locke, tension with Ty Lue. According to Haynes, Paul requested a meeting with Clippers coach Ty Lue to address allegations of being a negative presence. Lue refused, and deepening the rift with the team. Your thoughts on that and Ty Lue not wanting to meet with them and whatnot to clear the air and all that stuff. Your thoughts on that?
That tells me that there's something between these guys, Ty Lue and Chris Paul. There's something underlining between these two. Like, and I think, obviously Ty Lue being the head coach, you got a player that wants to come in and kind of get things on the positive side, and you're just, in a sense, rejecting. So, what is the reason for that? Because we're talking about a veteran, you know what I mean, future Hall of Famer. That could play a huge role on this team. And on top of that, like I said, we're talking about a team that's not looking good right now. We've heard so much expectations of the Clippers get, since we've seen that press conference with Kawhi and Paul George, and eventually getting their own basketball court, and then the situation with Kawhi getting paid. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on with this organization. It's up and down. So to hear that from Ty Lue basically rejecting Chris Paul, it makes you wonder, because you would think the coach would want to break things down, but to say, well, nah, we don't want no parts, that's it. It's very interesting.
When I see stuff like this, I was like, we know Chris Paul can be bullheaded and all that stuff and be real tough to deal with and all that. And, for a coach not to clear air and stuff like that, and you're the head coach, says a lot. It also goes along with the word, I guess, reputation that Ty Lue has of being like an empty suit in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to his coaching days in Cleveland and stuff like that, you heard those stories about him being an empty suit with LeBron, all that stuff, and not being his own man. Not saying he's not his own man, but not saying we don't hear stories of you being real spearheaded, strong-headed, whatever, and take charge type of dude. Leader man type of guy. I'm not saying he is, but you don't hear those type of stories.
Mm-hmm.
Now you get to this situation here, and you know, if you're trying to clear the air. Hear him out. You know, it's his last year. He's trying to go out strong, best of his abilities. Hear him out. But from the way that, we've been hearing about the meetings and stuff like that and practices, it seems like, Kawhi and James Harden got things in control there. And it's probably not for the best.
Yes, correct.
And goes back to what I just said. You got Ty Lue, the empty suit, running things as a coach. And now we're kind of seeing the results on the court. I'm not saying the Clippers have decent success while he was there, but it's not looking great right now. I'm not saying he's going to get fired after the season and stuff like that. Him and Lawrence Frank, who has put this roster together, by the way. I don't think he's going to get fired or anything like that, but it's going to be a very hard sell to the fans. Like, hey, what the hell's going on? The Clippers finally got their own identity. They got their own arena. I touched on that a couple weeks ago. Now you got your own identity, uniforms, nice looking uniforms, new logo, all that type of stuff. But now our franchise player, in a sense, Kawhi Leonard, who is taking money on the table, doesn't play much. My well is going to lead to this right here. Oh, sorry. There we go. The leeway post that Chris Paul posted on Instagram after confrontation with assistant coach Jeff Van Gundy, who told him he didn't have the authority to make defensive adjustments involving Kawhi Leonard. And people point out to, I guess, when they played the Mavericks and Kawhi's getting cooked by Klay Thompson, and Chris Paul offered a suggestion on that, and Jeff Van Gundy kind of just smacked him down and said, hey, man, no, we're not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts on hearing stuff like that, the meetings, James Harden want on board. Your thoughts on this everything is kind of coming to light after all this?
Well, I think now I've been on both sides, the athlete and the coach now. A lot of times us as coaches, they, we all talk about it as far as, hey, we're the ones that know what we're doing, and the athlete is they want to ask these questions, that want to know where they need to be, exercises X, Y, and Z. But I think when you have veterans like a Chris Paul or others that have seen a Tom Brady, a Peyton Manning, these guys that have been doing it for so long, they've seen different coverages, different. They've been to multiple games. They played in different games. They can help with those adjustments. I think their suggestions could play a huge role. A lot of times I think a lot of coaches don't want the athletes to feel like they have the control, like they are the one that are controlling the team. So when you have somebody like a Chris Paul who he has the history. He's a top 5 point guard, in the NBA. He's respected around the NBA. Future, people is going to be in the NBA and retired NBA players. So suggestions that he makes, sometimes coaches may not, as you said, Van Gundy, they don't want that because how it looks like he's going to coach the team. But his suggestions weighs a lot. And the reason why is because he's seen a lot of games. He's been involved into a lot of games. And that's like Michael Jordan giving suggestions through his experience. That's like LeBron doing it through his experience. You know what I mean? So sometimes some coaches don't want that. And now, the more we dig into it, could that have been a situation that Ty Lue didn't want no parts of? you keep Chris Paul around, he's gonna be telling these athletes, these players, hey, this will fit better here if you do this. You know what I'm saying? Just making some of those suggestions, and in a sense, getting more respect than the coach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now they're looking at Chris Paul and not Ty Lue. You know, that's something that he want to make sure that he doesn't battle. That could play a huge role with that. So to me, like I said, being on both ends, now being that coach, a lot of times you're coaching these athletes and you're trying to put them in the best position for what you've seen yourself, but then when you do have a player who's as experienced or actually, been on the actual court in the games, they can tell you, hey, this, that, and the third. That's why you see a lot of coaches or players, when they retire, what do? They either commentate or they coach. A lot of them. They're around the game some type of way. A lot of people, I think, talked about how Tony Romo was a great commentator because before the game, before the play, he's already explaining to people watching, hey, this is about to happen. This is what the expectation is. This is what they're seeing. This is what the quarterback is seeing, X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. So I said to say, those with experience, in the field, on the court, on the track, all of that, it plays a huge role by how they can impact the other players. And for somebody like a Chris Paul, who's played in many playoff series, who's played in multiple games, he's seen a lot. You know what I mean? One thing that made Tom Brady so good and Peyton Manning is when they got older, they seen damn near every type of defense that was out there. You couldn't throw anything out there to them that they didn't know. So you had that magician. And what we compare with the quarterback is the point guard position. So, you got to be the smartest player on the court. You got to be able to see and make these adjustments. And we've seen Chris Paul do that multiple times. Now, since he's not getting the minutes, in his mind, well, as we know, you want that person to still be engaged into the game. And Chris Paul is, probably during the time I brought, hey, this, that, and the third. If you do this, such and such. And sometimes some coaches don't want that. So that could, like I say, play a valid reasoning of sending him home because of that. Because, again, those adjustments could help, but the coach don't want to seem like he's being out-coached or overlooked at by another player. Because, well, damn, coach, you told me this, but Chris Paul said this, and the way Chris Paul said it worked. So who am I going? You see what I'm saying? Who am I going to listen to? You know what I mean? So that's something that a lot of sometimes insecure coaches they battle with because they want to make sure they're not getting overlooked overlooked at by said player.
I'll say this, Van Gundy's been around the block. I mean, I know he's back into coaching the past couple of years with the Clippers. I kind of like this dude's a future Hall of Famer. This dude will be the first or second guy to have his jersey retired and then the Intuit Dome sometime down the line. Either him or Blake Griffin. Probably where the thing's going now, I think Blake Griffin probably get that nod first. He's trying to win. Trying to help this team win. I don't understand why you can't make suggestions. Now we kind of talked about this last year with like Giannis and the Bucks and Adrian Griffin last year and Brook Lopez. How Giannis saying they weren't using Brook Lopez right in pick and roll situations. I don't know if you remember that or not, but that was kind of a big thing right there last year until Adrian Griffin left the team. But that was one thing that that was kind of hung up on, like you're not using him, blah blah blah, not taking our suggestions, stuff like that. So you're talking about undermining stuff like that. That situation comes to play from last year. Now you got this going on. It's just like, I'm here trying to win if I'm Chris Paul. Kawhi Leonard ain't the player he used to be. Let's be real about that. You know what I'm saying? I think, some hard conversations need to be had with the Clippers. Like, Kawhi Leonard's not the player he used to be. And as long as you're trying to hold that hope to him to get finally healthy at his age, it's going to be a hard reality there. And I don't know, what this team's going to do, all this stuff, all that. You got Ty Lue and him beefing, Jeff Van Gundy. And we know, and if y'all don't know about, if some of you younger viewers that just know Jeff Van Gundy as a commentator, when he was a coach, he was very hands-on in a sense about calling plays, running his offense, defense, just kind of being real old school and stuff like that. Hold for the last shot for the last quarter, all that type of stuff. He's real old school in that. Probably was why he was on the commentary for years. But anyways, seeing all this D-Locke, it seemed like everything's a hot mess. And now you're hearing stories about James Harden wasn't really feeling it, and him and Kawhi, and they kind of probably went to management and said, "Hey, can you get rid of this dude? He's killing our vibe right now." So I don't know what's going to happen. It kind of shows that the Clippers are in disarray.
Yes.
It kind of shows that your two main players are really not all in. And especially to an owner that wants to be all in all the time. So I don't know what's going to happen with the Clippers. They had a nice lead against the Timberwolves, and they lost that game Saturday. So I don't know what's going to happen with this team. It's going to be a real interesting watch how they're going to fall, where they're going to fall at the end of the season.
I mean, I didn't fall for so I fell for this 3 or a big 3, I think. One time I think I did last year with the Phoenix Suns. Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal. I thought that team was going to be good. But I remember when we did the preview, one thing that you said was, well, this team cannot be bad, but they do have injury issues or can possibly have injury issues. Boom. Season goes, what happens? Injury issues, inconsistency. Right now, to be honest, the Phoenix Suns now look better than they did last year with the 3 that they had. We get to the Clippers now. Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, Bradley Beal. You have another 3 that we're expecting. Okay, this team is going to be pretty good, but you add Chris Paul. But the biggest thing is health, again, and age. I mean, right now, we've barely seen Kawhi Leonard play this season. Not only you have that, Bradley Beal is out, and now Chris Paul is out. It's done. So this team that we thought had these expectations, it's not working. And this is a thing that's happened numerous times with this team. Don't forget they had the Clippers team with Chris Paul and Blake Griffin.
Mm-hmm.
So they've had numerous teams that were going to be competitive. We all remember when Kawhi went to LA and it was that first game of the season against the Lakers, and they had that commercial with Kawhi being in LA, him and Paul George, and they matched up against the Lakers, and we thought that was going to be Lakers and Clippers. Now that the little brother is coming to beat the big brother, they wanted to have those comparisons, and it never panned out. Now, as we all see, this is a re-evolving. This is something that continues to happen over and over and over. Like I said, the Lakers find a way to get their star. They do that. They've been doing that for years. Kobe retires, they go get LeBron. Go get Anthony Davis. LeBron is about to be gone. They go trade for Luka. Now, obviously, we see what happened with that situation. But this is what I mean by what these teams, these franchises do to continue to stay good. The Lakers have the expectations of being very good.
Mm-hmm.
The Clippers don't have it yet. They're trying to get there, but it's always something that impacts what they do. And this is something that just continues to happen. This is stuff that was happening before our era, before we were born. These are the things that continue to happen. The Clippers have that the Lakers have that history of always being consistently good, and the Clippers have always had these type of issues. So now, what do the Clippers do? They've invested more. Like you said, they got their own court. They got their guys in. They went and got James Harden. They got Chris. All these guys. What do they do next? Biggest guy that they had that probably could have changed their franchise was SGA. And see what he's doing now. So, again, I think, I think we're going to see the Clippers have the same thing continuously happen. This experience with Kawhi Leonard has went bad. It hasn't worked. That's just the facts. Not to be a bully or say anything. We seen Ty Lue go with the Lakers win the championship. I'm sorry, not Lakers. With the Cavs with LeBron go win the championship.
Mm-hmm.
They go get a championship coach, pair him with Kawhi Leonard, and this is what we have. So the question is, what do they do next? How do they bounce back from this? What happens moving forward?
Let's put a bow on this because I think we'll be talking more about the Clippers throughout the year. Mark is bringing up that Kawhi's bursting street clothes Anthony Davis. Yeah.
Just about.
Yeah. Because at least AD for the past couple of years has showed up. Leonard, it's just in and out.
Mm-hmm.
And now AD, he's on the block right now as well, possibly being moved. Where, we'll see here, in a little bit. But let's put a ball on the Clippers. See, like more stuff comes out each passing day with this organization and all that good stuff. We'll take a quick break, D-Lock. But on the other side of things, we'll talk about Giannis and that situation. Then we'll talk about scores and news around the league and all that stuff. But this is Fast Break here for iSports Radio. Rooting for all sports. We'll catch you on the other side.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the broadcast here tonight. This is Fast Break here on Ice Sports Radio, your direct feed for all in sports. On the ticker right there, you see, do follow Ice Sports Radio on your social media feeds, X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. We got a brand new lovely logo for Ice Sports Radio. Looks great. The founder, Larry B, did a great job on that. He sent it to me about a couple weeks ago. I said, damn, that looks pretty damn good. Looks great, looks hip, all that good stuff. So you will see that new logo on our social media feeds right there. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. When we go live every Sunday around 7, a little past 7, you'll get that notification. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. So once we go live, you'll get that notification, hit that play button, and join us in the chat as well. The road to 500 subscribers on Ice Sports Radio. We're working hard trying to get those subscriber numbers up, but do give us a follow there as well. Besides Chris Paul, D-Locke, Giannis is back on the news, and he's unhappy. Giannis Antetokounmpo is currently signed out with a calf strain that he suffered on December 3rd. And while trade rumors swirl around his future with the Bucks, with the New York Knicks emerging as a leading candidate. Now, Giannis did ask for a trade. As work reports have come out, he has asked for a trade during the summer. So he legit asked for a trade during the summer. And the Knicks has been a team that always been rumored about for the past few years for Giannis. Doc Rivers said the Achilles, it's not an Achilles injury, to easing fears of long-term setback. Recently, Giannis scrubbed social Bucks references for his social media, feeling speculation. So, seeing all this, D-Locke, and then this final story here, I'm trying to pull it up right here, that Chris Haynes got from Giannis's own words here. I'll post it right here. Chris Haynes reported Giannis told him, I see a wall, and I want to run through the wall and make things work. That's my focus right now. I want to get healthy and be there for my team. So, have you seen all that, D-Locke? Your thoughts on Giannis and the Bucks situation in your eyes? Because I thought we got like Miles Turner, you kind of upgraded a little bit at center. Your point guard situation is kind of trash. I don't say it's kind of trash, but it wasn't the best. But you're still a playoff team,
Right.
Your thoughts on this whole situation with this team and what they can do to resolve things with Giannis?
I think Giannis has already been thinking about leaving even prior to the Dame Lillard trade. And that was something that was already mentioned by him as far as what are we going to do to continuously be competitive in the NBA or the Eastern Conference. So boom, they trade for Dame. Cool. I think that was a hell of a trade. We talked about it. You got Giannis and you got Dame. You're good. And you're thinking they're going to be pretty solid. I think that was not a bad trade. I think that worked, but they could have had some more pieces around those two.
Yeah.
I think that played a huge part. Now, Dame gets hurt. So now you're back at square one. To where now Giannis feels like he's the only guy. He has to be the one that continues to get this team to be good or competitive in the East. And they're going to be competitive just because of who Giannis is. You know what I mean? He's still a top 5 player in the NBA, in my opinion. But now he has a few wear and tears on his body. A few injuries, nicks that are coming along now. Now, my biggest thing is when they made the coaching change.
Yeah.
They were actually looking pretty good, and then boom, now Doc Rivers is the head coach. I just think that now you put Giannis back in a situation where it's just him. I honestly am not a big fan of Doc Rivers being the head coach there. I just don't think that match. When he first got it, we started seeing that team kind of change a lot. But for me, you're gonna have to make some big moves to get Giannis to stay there and want to stay there long term. Miles Turner was a great pickup. I think him, Bobby Porter's cool. You got some guys because you lost Brook Lopez, but I think that was a hell of a replacement with Miles Turner. We've seen what he's done and what he can do. But not having that roster top to bottom, I don't think is that competitive, in my opinion. I think Ryan Rollins is starting to make it cool. I think Kuzma is inconsistent. Not too much from Cole Anthony as much. I don't really see him playing a big role over there to do too much. Gary Trent was there. Let me see. I just think that this team the roster is not what it was a few years back. And that's one of the reasons why we're seeing Giannis like, okay, well, I need to look somewhere else to go. Because now looking at it, okay, Kevin Porter, like I said, we haven't seen him that much. We've seen a lot of Ryan Rollins. Cole Anthony hasn't done too much. AJ Green, I'm not too much of that. Kyle Kuzma, I think, like I said, the inconsistency. So I think they're gonna have to change this roster. They're gonna have to flip this roster. Now, who they get, who they move, that's the question that remains. Because I mean, you're gonna move Gary Trent, Gary Harris, Cole Anthony. I mean, who's gonna? What are you gonna get in return to keep Giannis to stay there if you're not gonna move Miles Turner or Bobby Portis? So, I honestly think this is probably gonna be Giannis' last year there.
Yeah,
that's what it's looking like. And they're gonna have to, like I said, this is a time to. If you know this, if you know that he's going to leave, or you have a slight thought process that he's going to leave, I'll say this loud for John Horst, who's the GM. Try to get something back for him. Look at some packages. Give some teams a couple calls or field some calls. But try to get something back for Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah. Because
right now, it was a hell of a run. You guys got an NBA championship out of it. It's just some things didn't go your way. You wasn't planning for the Dame injury. It happens. So now I think, Giannis's career in Milwaukee has run its course. And I think now it's time to go ahead and say, hey, if you are considering, and that's what we're hearing, you had that conversation. Now, what places are you looking at, and make some calls? Now, this is not like Dallas situation with Luka. Let me make that clear. This is a totally different situation. Totally different. But it's clear that Giannis is already one foot in and 1 foot out the door. And if that's the case for somebody that is a top 5 player, you probably can get a lot for him. So behind closed doors, I definitely would try to make some calls to, see what you can get, the best packages, because I think right now with this team that you have, I mean, you're not going to get something to build around them. I don't see that. I think the best bet now is to go ahead and continue to move on and get the best package. And Hey, tell Giannis, we appreciate you for everything you've done. Move on.
I look at the situation like this. If he already asked for a trade during the summer, and he made moves to kind of get upgrade, download like with Miles Turner, for example, you gotta do something. If you already asked for a trade, you gotta do something. And now you kind of look into now you kind of like, okay, if he asked for we don't know what point in time he asked for this trade. Let's be clear on that. But if he asked for this trade before you signed Miles Turner, then that signing seemed like a waste because you had to make a lot of room to make that work. And since you're doing that, it just seems like now you're the Buck, you put yourself in a hole to make your team better or for the future and whatnot. You brought his brother along back again. Could that spot be used for somebody else? Any, to facilitate another trade or a younger, brighter athlete to kind of go along with his team? You remember back in the Luka trade, there was two other people that old boy called around for: Giannis and Edwards, Nico Harrison, and they both said no. Now you kind of look at it now through this time now with this limbo we had with Giannis. Maybe you should have took up that Luka offer. If being real about that. Now you kind of look at if you ask for a trade for like this, like now, back in the summer, maybe you should have traded for Luka and got that deal done.
Mm-hmm.
Or if he wants to go to the Knicks, hey, go to the trying to find a deal for the Knicks. And let me pull this up right here. Betting odds now list the Knicks as a favorite if a trade occurs with 27% odds, and then far ahead of odds like teams like the Spurs. So other teams that could be in the market for them, the Knicks, Spurs, that have assets, the Rockets, Mavericks, Lakers.
Ooh.
So there's a lot of, potential buyers out there. The Heat I could throw in there as well, but I don't think for some reason they're scared to move off Tyler Hero for whatever reason. But I look at these other teams like San Antonio, him and Victor. I look at the Rockets. They probably had to give up Sengun in a deal. And I don't think they will do that. I wouldn't do that. And I think they gave a lot of assets for Kevin Durant. So I'm not saying a deal can get done, but it's like, it's tough. The Spurs probably got the best. If you trying to get rebuild and stuff like that, they probably got the best assets in terms of picks and young dudes.
Yeah.
If I'll say this, if the Spurs not giving up Dylan Harper or Vassell, no bueno.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw scenarios, Steve. I don't know if you saw this. The Lakers could make a play.
And give up who?
One trade scenario I saw. Now I don't know if the Bucks will go for this, but one trade scenario I saw was Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura. I think Maxi Kleber and Gabe Vincent, or either one of those guys, but I think both of the guys are in the trade, and their first round pick in 2030 or some crap like that for Giannis and his brother. After hearing those scenarios, D-Lock, if somebody would make a trade, who do you think would be the best spot for him? The Knicks, his preferred destination, or some of the other teams I just listed out?
I ain't gonna lie. I think you're definitely like when I say this. I say the Lakers. I think that pairing him, and this is just what the Lakers do. They're one of the teams that demand winning titles.
Yeah.
So they're gonna make the moves to continue being successful, not just for right now. They're thinking years ahead. You know, for those that have watched the Lakers and Celtics documentary, we know what these teams are capable of and what they want to do. So, bet the Celtics won the championship, right? The team that's probably pissed off about that the most is the Lakers. It's a rivalry thing. So these teams are dynasties. This is their expectation. So for me, I would say the Lakers. I mean, I think now obviously you're not getting off Luka, but that's the reason I'm saying this is because now you can pair a Luka and a Giannis. Now how they coincide, that's something that they will figure out. LeBron's going to retire soon. Moving Austin Reeves, Hachimura, these guys for Giannis would be excellent for the Lakers. Now, do Milwaukee take it? That's something that they have to consider. Or talk about and see what they want. Do they add another team in to make that package deal work for all three teams? But for me, I think the Lakers would be a hell of a spot because again, you got your future already there. Boston is gonna, when Tatum comes back, Boston is gonna be, I think they're still gonna be pretty good. So they're gonna be trying to be back at the NBA Finals consistently. So for the Lakers to make their next step, because Denver's not going anywhere. Houston, I think they'd be pretty solid even when Kevin Durant is done. The Spurs, I think with what they have, they're going to be back consistently good. So the West is only going to get tougher. And in my mind, as good as Luke is, as great as he is, pairing him with another star is going to make the Lakers a dangerous team to deal with, not only for right now, but for years to come. So I know the Knicks, like I said, the Knicks is a preferred destination. The Knicks will be a hell of a spot. I'm just thinking about who are they going to give up for it to make sense. Same thing with the Spurs. So in my mind, I'm like, well, who are you giving up? Are you going to give Victor? Are you giving up Karl Anthony Towns? How did this coincide, and what does the team look like if you move said pieces? So to me, I think the best pair for this to work would be Luka and Giannis. You mess around and get Luka and Giannis on the same team?
The pick and rolls.
Yes. I think you're going to look at a team that's going to be good for. Let me double check. Giannis is he 28?
I want to say he's 30, 31.
He is, yes. So he's 31. Luka, 26, 27? So, yeah, I mean, this puts you in a win now and win for a long term, for the next 7, 8 years with Giannis, with Luka. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers did make that call and try to put together a package. They've done it already with twice having LeBron and going to get Anthony Davis. So now they knew what they had. They knew where they were going. As much as Luka and Austin Reeves sounds good, Luka and Giannis sounds a hell of a lot better. A hell of a lot better, in my opinion. So it's something that they would have to think about, but I think the Lakers would Laker Nation will go crazy if they can see Luka and Giannis in the same uniform, the same court.
The shirt I got on right now, go Spurs go. I think if you're the Spurs, I know you're trying to play the long game here with some of the acquisitions you did in the drafting as well. But, you still got to make moves. You can't wait the long game, but you still got to make moves here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Drafting is nice, but you kind of been on this drafting spell for a good while now. So now it's kind of like, can you trade in some of those chips to get something else? Now, I think if you're the Spurs, yeah, you can depend on Victor and whatnot, but as we can see, he misses games too.
Yes.
So, are you going to be if you make this type of move, are you going to be very heavy, or are you just going to stay with the future? So I think, they can make a move. I somewhat thought about the Thunder. Maybe trading Isaiah Hartenstein, a few of those young guys, maybe give up that 2026 Clippers pick and go from there. But, and I saw some people said, maybe trade Jalen Williams. I think, no. If anything, I'll trade Chet Holmgren first before Jalen Williams. I'll rather do that before I'll trade Jalen Williams. Let's get that clear. But, in Giannis's words, he said he's going to try and work it out. And we'll see. The Bulls, who started off very well in the beginning of the year, have just lost their seventh straight game to the Warriors. 123 to 91. 19 points from Jimmy Butler, who's heard rumors about trade talks with him and Anthony Davis. Josh Giddey, 18 points to lead the way for the Bulls. 12 points for Kobe White. So a team that started off pretty good for the early year has kind of come down to earth kind of as we expected. So I think if you're the Bucks, if you can get the guys back healthy, back in rotation things, you're 10-15.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, the Bulls lost tonight. The Hawks, they're 14-11. Jalen Johnson, playing out of his mind, should be an all-star this year.
Yes, he is.
2 straight triple doubles. He should be an all-star. If he's not, then something's wrong. Because I can't think of too many forwards in the East that are playing better than him.
This is true.
Yeah, I'm damn near saying starting all-star game. Well, I know they changed the format and all that stuff, but you get my point.
Yeah.
Then after that, you got the Cavaliers at 14-11 as well. And then the Miami Heat, 14-10. Your Orlando Magic, 14-10 as well. And then you got the Sixers, who currently playing the Lakers right now at 13-9. So if Giannis is come back healthy, and this is like at the start of the new year, things can change.
Oh yeah.
And I posted on our Twitter account here at wrong one. At Fastback ISR, the next 4 weeks is going to be very telling for this franchise. Because if they fall lower in the standings, okay, Giannis going to ass out. Maybe trade that line, maybe summer. But if they kind of hold steady, creep up the standings a little bit, then bring him back along at the start of the new year, okay, maybe you can make a little run. Because let's be real, Philly, Joel Embiid is in and out the lineup, along with Paul George.
Right.
Your Orlando Magic, Paolo Banchero, he's out right now.
Mm-hmm.
Trae Young's still out for the Atlanta Hawks. If you look at Cleveland, every time you look up, somebody's of the main 4 guys are out of the game.
Yep, this is true.
Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley. Like look up, like, damn, man, y'all can't stay on the court for consistency for shit. And then they play the Cavs the other night, and no Jared Allen in the lineup.
Right.
So this a lot of factors, and I know the Raptors are 15-10, but like, come on, man. I was like, okay, y'all can come down to earth too, and just y'all. Ben and Ingram, Glorilla is a cute couple for right now. But y'all can come down to earth too. And then Boston's back up in the 3rd spot. So I'll let you have the last word. If the Bucks continue to slip in the standings, does Giannis get traded by the trade deadline?
I don't think he get traded by the deadline, but I do think that he is gone. If they slip, I don't even think it's if they slip. I think they are. I mean, if he's not healthy, we've talked about Kyle Kuzma a lot over the years, and how inconsistent he can be. I don't see Kyle Kuzma, Gary Trent, Ryan Rollins, Kevin Porter, Miles Turner. I don't see this team being a team that's gonna just come in and shock a lot of people. I think this is one of the reasons why Giannis is asking to be out, because this team is not really fully loaded like that. Now, they are in the East, like you said. So you got all these injuries, these teams that have their different issues that play a role in this. The thing is, can Milwaukee capitalize on it? And if you said he was already asked for a trade, what's going to make it different now?
Yeah.
So, right now, this is before the season, and now they're going backwards in this season. At this point, like I said, I think now before trade deadline means you're probably calling teams for packages already. Now Giannis is Giannis, so you're gonna try to get the best package. You're gonna try to get the most, and this is why I said more than likely, if they trade him or whenever, they're probably gonna have to add a 3rd team in to get what they feel as is the best deal for them. They want to get the players back for them. So to me, I think that trade is going to happen. I just think this is something that, for one, it is hard to move a player like this. So they're gonna sit and call teams and try to make sure they get that right package. But I don't think he's going by deadline. But I definitely think by the end of the season he's out. unless this team goes to the NBA Finals some type of way, I think it's like I said, I think it's over. It's just right now they need to start. They need to accept. They need to see the writing on the wall and see that, hey, this is the situation. Hey, you did trade for Dame. You had this expectation, but things happen. Injuries happen. So now Giannis knows what it is. He has some places that he's wanting to go to, his preferred destinations. But at this point, it's about getting that best deal for both parties. So now, like I said, does he turn down LA with Luka? I don't think so. I think that's something that he probably considers. Even San Antonio, does he turn that down? But he's in the win now mode. So I think he wants to go somewhere where he can win ASAP. And I think with that, Milwaukee needs to continue to say, hey, okay, well, we're trading away a win now. We're in a rebuild a little bit with some of these young players and go from there. Again, you got an NBA championship and a finals MVP with Giannis. Now, clearly, I think it's time for it to end. Try to get the best package deal. Get your young team and try to get right, because the East is going to be a little open moving forward. You just got to get your pieces and continue to build. So I just think that trade deadline is a little soon to move such a great player. I think they're, like you said, they're going to play the season out a little bit, see how he is with these little nicks and necks, these little injuries, and go from there. But I definitely think he's going to end the season.
I'll make a bold claim, and we'll move on. I'll make a bold claim in this. The old, like, back in the early 2000s and stuff like that, when NBA teams made big trades back in the day, they've all, like, 14 players and 4 or 5 teams, something like that. I think something like that might happen. It might happen, but like you said, it might happen in the summer though, because teams like the Knicks, who are playing pretty well with the group right now, I don't think they want to shake up the core right now. But with rumors of guys like Anthony Davis on the trade block, Jonathan Kuminga, Jimmy Butler, pick who you want out of Sacramento, Sabonis, Levine, DeRozan. Then I'm reading stuff that the Clippers may explore Harden and Kawhi trades. Kawhi will get moved, but then you hear stories about John Morant, LaMelo Ball. So you just got a lot of names out there that if you're going to facilitate something, okay, it's time to make a move. The Lakers like we mentioned, the Lakers are on the hunt for somebody. The Wizards and Nets got a lot of cap space going to next offseason. Do they help facilitate some of these moves and help their rebuild process? So for me, something big could happen by the deadline, but I think the offseason we'll see the magic happen. Because if the Knicks don't win the title, okay, you got to shake up something.
Yes.
If the Bucks continue to backslide, they got to shake up something. If Victor don't finish out the season, you got to shake up something. If John Morant still giving you issues, Zion Williamson still giving you issues, you got to shake up something.
Yeah.
So a lot of shaking up. It seems like it's brewing for a shake up in the NBA, and we haven't had one of those in a good hot minute. So something could happen at the deadline, but I think a big move will happen in the summer, come around the draft time. And like we talked for the past couple of weeks, for the past month, about these freshmen and the high potential of some of these guys. A lot of jockeying for those kids too. So a lot of something's going to brew because something's going to brew and something's got to pop and something's got to happen, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times this happens because, like you said, prime example, the Knicks. We both picked them to go. I think we both picked them to go to the NBA Finals, didn't we? Or did you pick them over the Magic? Did you pick the Magic?
I had the Magic at least going to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I did get to go to Knicks going to the championship.
Yeah, we both had them. So
yeah,
I think the expectation is there. So a team like the Knicks, they already got a new coach. So now they got the coach. They feel like this is the year. Teams like them, they're looking at, okay, well, now if we can't get it done now, then a coach is going to want to protect himself, his job. A lot of times, so that shakeup is going to happen, specifically for that. A lot of these coaches, again, you got your owner, your general manager. These guys, they want to figure out, well, why the job not getting done, especially with teams with high expectations, like New York Knicks, the Boston Celtics, the Lakers, these, the Denver Nuggets. They want to make sure that they're competitive. So when things aren't getting done, somebody has to have the fault for it. So to me, it makes sense, that shakeup is going to happen. If, hey, we put this team together, we got this coach. Now what the hell going on? So yeah, I talk about it with Philly, and I've been talking about it a long time with that. They continue moving coaches, continue getting new coaches. They change the roster, new coach, change the roster. It was I'm one of the ones that said they keep talking about Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons been gone. They still having these issues. So who is it? So a lot of times I'm one of the ones that, hey, at this point, it might be time for Embiid to be somewhere else. You know what I mean? Because now you're running into these similar issues. You got this team. You got the coach, this, that, and the third. Well, some pieces have to be moved. So you look at the Knicks where they got the roster. We talk about it. I mean, right now, Josh Hart looks like he's playing incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That roster that they have looks pretty good. Side note, I don't know what Desmond Bane's problem with Anunoby is. I try to find out more about it, but these two, every time they match up, he's doing something. He's really willing to get ejected. So, but again, the Knicks have those expectations. And if it doesn't happen, this is the reason why I said, well, hell, at the end of the season, now that's that shakeup,
Yeah.
And even though Milwaukee might be in a rush to say, hey, we already know he about to leave. We trash right now. We got to move him by the deadlines. These other teams want to see what their roster looks like if they can get there with the team that they have. Like the New York Knicks. They want to see if Carl Anthony Towns and these guys can get it done. But if not, okay, cool. Now we picking up this phone and let's see what we can do.
So yeah, we'll see what happens there. And here's one more thing. Giannis, if Giannis going to make this move, he got to stay stern on it. It can't go back and forth. That's my own thing. But D-Lock, before we get out of here, talk about the scores real quick. The Lakers are up 98-94 on the Sixers in the fourth quarter. Luka on a verge of triple-double, 27 points, 14 rebounds, 9 assists for him. LeBron, 19 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists for him as well. DeAndre Ayton, 14-10 for him. Austin Reeves, only 11 points thus far. For the Sixers side of things, Paul George, 10 points for him. Tyrese Maxey, 25 points for him, 7 assists for him. VJ Edgecombe, 15 points for him thus far. And Joel Embiid back in the lineup, 14 points for him and 6 rebounds. Nice for him to show up for the Laker game. But D-Lock, let me ask you this about LeBron. Is this his last year in LA? And not saying career, I say his last year in LA. Because let me got this out. Let me get this here. Turn this damn timer off. Because the Lakers been playing fine without him. Granted, you're gonna need, if you're gonna make a championship run, you're gonna need him at least as a second option.
Yeah.
But it seemed like this organization, it seemed like they kind of, in a way, kind of. And then there's that video of JJ trying to get his attention in the Phoenix Suns game when they got blown out, in which Gillespie and Dylan Brooks took over in that third quarter, and LeBron was like yucking it up with them, and JJ had to call timeout. I guess is this the last year of LeBron in LA? Even with the franchise like this, that they get these stars, they keep them in the fold forever.
Yeah.
But it seems like LeBron, they never really, they embraced it, but not fully.
Mm-hmm.
Not like a Kareem, when they acquired him. Not like, who else could think of? Shaq.
Yeah.
Not like Pau Gasol. They treat him like family because, he was with Dr. Buzz on his deathbed, visiting him before he passed away. After Pau, LeBron. Is this the last year of LeBron in LA in your eyes, or do they work something out to do one more year with them?
I took the trade for Luka, not even geared towards moving on from LeBron, but just expecting him to retire. And again, the Lakers, this is what the Lakers do. They continue to be good. They got to continue getting these stars. This is what they do. This is how they move and be consistent and continue this dynasty. Once one star is leaving, retiring, they bring somebody else in. So for me, my thing is, I don't think it's his last year in LA. And the reason why I say that is because I'm trying to figure out where the hell he gonna go. I mean, I know obviously this is LeBron we talking about. But damn, like I'm trying to figure out literally there's teams that will want LeBron, but in my mind, we know LeBron is 2 or 3 steps ahead when he does things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for this, I'm like, this would be something that LeBron has already planned out where his next place is going to be. So where does he go? And right now, on my looking at a couple of the teams, I mean, where does he go? Like what team takes that swing and says, hey, we want to take a 40-year-old LeBron James and kind of he's going to be here for a year or two. I mean, I'm trying to see does he go back to Miami? I mean, possibility. Cleveland, I think what they got, they probably like that. You talked about the New York thing. What happens at the end of the season? Do they get the NBA? So I'm just looking at teams. I'm just like, I don't see it. Does he go to Golden State? I mean, to me, I think that this is I think this is his last stop. Now, I'm thinking of it as from LeBron's point of view, from his point, not the Lakers. You see what I'm saying? The Lakers, again, they got their guy for the future.
Yes.
Could they be looking possibly to pair a Giannis if that's a possibility? So to me, to answer that question from LeBron's point, I don't think from LeBron's point of view, I don't think this is last season. But from the Lakers, I mean, I could see him saying, "Hey, we thank you for it." Like they say, "Thank you for your services." Deuces. I can see it, but also for somebody with such high gratitude, expectation of who he is, it's hard to see a team literally say, "We're going to release you." You know what I mean? The last time we seen something like this was Tom Brady leaving New England. You know, and that was just a huge, like, damn, like, and we're talking about somebody that's been, now that's a little different because he's been in New England so long, he wasn't anywhere else. This is a team that drafted him. Lakers, on the other hand, they didn't draft LeBron. So it's more so of, hell, we the Lakers, like, we got hell of a job, but now we know what you're doing, we know who you are. The 10 points a game streak has ended. So do they possibly say, yeah, hey, we good with what we got right now, what we doing? But again, to me, do they trade him? Do they get something for him? So it's I can see it because it's clear that Luka is literally taking over this team. Him and Austin Reeves are showing, what it is, and we know that. But I guess in my mind, I'm still, when it comes to somebody like LeBron, I'm thinking, well, damn, where is he going next? You know what I mean? Not just LeBron's on the street and he's waiting for calls. You know what I mean? I can see it is, if he does go, he's already plotting where he's going for it. The Lakers are actually be like, nah, we good. You go figure it out. That'd be something hard for me to believe.
Real quick for me, before we get out of here, I don't know. I think they got to work out something because you don't let somebody like this go elsewhere and finish career. And if you're the Lakers, I know they got new ownership and whatnot, but you want LeBron to finish his last year there. You deal with Magic, you deal with Kareem. Shaq was a different story, but you kind of got him back in home.
Mm-hmm.
But for somebody like this, in the Laker, uniform, the Laker brand, you gotta let this man finish out his last year, where that may be, there in LA. If he happens to go back to Cleveland and work out something there, then so be it. But if all those options are exhausted, then you gotta do something there. I know you're trying to focus on Luka and stuff like that, but this is a dude that joined y'all franchise and kind of made y'all relevant again.
Mm-hmm.
Because before that, D-Locke, it was a rough watch with the Lakers. Post Kobe retirement, well, hell, even those last 2 years with Kobe, and then after his retirement, and after that, it's like the high draft picks, D'Angelo Russell, Brandon Ingram, guys like Jordan Clarkson, Josh Hart, all those guys, Julius Randle, not LaMelo Ball, Lonzo Ball. It was a rough watch for the past couple those years.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get LeBron, and now you back to Lakers lore and stuff like that. And then you won a championship and all that stuff. So you got to do something and somebody, that broke the scoring record in your uniform, all that stuff, a guy that should get a statue outside crypto arena. I was about to say Staples, but you got to do something. And the weird standoff between these two between these two folks is really telling. So I hope something gets worked out. I'm kind of curious what the new management and ownership does with LeBron in tow. And then, and looking at the score right now, it's 105-103. The Lakers are up by 2 points. So we'll see how things go. And I'm curious where things go with him in the organization. And if they can get things figured out, hey, that'd be great. Awesome. But, if it don't, it's not the end of the world, but, he's been there for the longest of his NBA career at one spot. So we'll see how things go for the rest of the year and how he reacts to things and how the organization reacts to things. That's my thing.
Yeah.
But this has been our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in with us. I know drama filled with backstage stuff, all that type of stuff, all that good jazz. I know we didn't talk about more of the scores, but the Lakers are up by, the game is tied now between the Sixers and the Lakers, 105 each. So we'll talk about that on our page right here on X/Twitter. D-Lock, how can people find you on social media?
You guys find me at Black-813. Things been going pretty decent. My Bucks did a little today, but I'll take that. I'll be talking about a little bit of what Florida's doing also with their new coaching. Add some new coaches. They're trying to make some adjustments, which is cool. Orlando Magic is starting to get it. They're starting to get it together, starting to do some things. So hopefully they can move forward. Talk about that. Let them know they can find you in the show's page.
You can find the show's page at Twitter /X at FastBreakIESR. That's FastBreakIESR. I know that the tweets been kind of few and far between. College football kind of take up a lot of that space here lately. On my own personal page at Spawn4288. Also, do follow IE Sports Radio on all your social media feeds right there as well. X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Subscribe to that YouTube channel. Hit that notification bell, and we'll go live every Sunday. You'll get that notice that we're live and on and pop and talk about basketball. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, next week, more the same. We'll see which player has issue with his team. Also, D-Lock, I did want to talk about, the preseason tournament going on in Saudi Arabia and the money that potentially be there. So I do want to touch on that next week because that's pretty huge for the world of college sports and NIL. We talked about last week, and we talked about off the air as well. So a lot of news and stuff like that going on right now as well. But till then, ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk to y'all next week. Take care. Be safe out there.